My child, listen carefully, because something extraordinary has taken place, something so unexpected, so life-altering, that even the heavens paused when it happened. A decision was made. Not a small decision. Not a casual signature. Not a simple act of generosity. No, my child. This was the kind of decision that shifts destinies and rewrites futures. A decision that bears your name. Because someone, somewhere, just signed away everything they own. Their money, their lands, their inheritance, their empire, their entire lifetime of accumulation, and they tied it all to you. Not to their relatives. Not to their friends. Not to their business partners. To you, my child. And I know what you're thinking. Why me? And who would do something this extreme? Stay with me, because the truth is far deeper than you imagine. This wasn't charity. It wasn't chance. It wasn't a mistake. This was the repayment of a debt. A debt carried in silence, in memory, and in blood, for 39 long years. Yes, my child. 39 years ago, something happened. Something hidden. Something almost erased by time. Something buried in a night so dark that even the stars refused to shine. And until today, you never knew your life was woven into that night. But the one who signed everything to you never forgot it. Not even for a second. Their entire life was shaped by it. Their success was built upon it. Their survival depended on it. And the deeper truth, my child? What happened on that night was connected to your family, to someone whose blood runs in your veins. Someone whose courage still echoes through generations. Someone who fought when no one else would stand. Someone who made a choice that preserved another man's entire destiny. So hear me closely as I unfold the beginning of this mystery. My child, the story begins on a stormy evening nearly 4 decades ago. Rain poured like the sky was breaking open. Winds roared between the buildings. The streets were nearly empty, except for one man running with everything inside of him. His footsteps splashed through the water. His breath shook. His heart pounded like death itself was chasing him, because in truth, it was. Behind him, 2 shadows moved with ruthless intention. These weren't robbers. They weren't common criminals. They were assassins, sent to end him before sunrise. And tragically, the man running had no idea the betrayal was coming. The attack was orchestrated by someone he trusted deeply, someone who smiled in his face but planned his end behind closed doors. Yes, my child. Betrayal was the first seed of this entire story. The man stumbled. His legs felt weak. The weapons behind him gleamed even through the rain. Every path he took led to a dead end. His voice cracked as he cried for help, but every window stayed shut, every door stayed locked. The world ignored him. The darkness swallowed him. And then, just when he believed his final moment had arrived, he saw someone. A lone figure standing under a small tin roof, shielding himself from the storm. Not a soldier. Not a guard. Not someone trained for battle. Just a man who happened to be there, a stranger in the night. The desperate man cried out, "Please! Help me!" His voice broke. His fear was visible. His life hung by a thread. Your heart may ask, why would a stranger get involved? Why risk his life for someone he didn't even know? But this stranger, he did not look away. He did not hesitate. He stepped forward. And that single step changed everything. He faced 2 armed attackers with nothing but courage in his chest and strength in his soul. Even as rain blinded his eyes. Even as the ground grew slippery beneath his feet. Even as the weapons flashed toward him. He fought. Not for glory. Not for reward. But simply because he refused to watch an innocent life be destroyed in front of him. Blow after blow, he took. Wounds marked his skin. Blood mixed with rain. But he kept standing. And finally, the attackers ran. They fled into the shadows, realizing they could not defeat a man whose courage was greater than their cruelty. The man who had been saved fell to the ground, overwhelmed with gratitude. He tried to speak, but emotion shook his voice. He begged the stranger, "Tell me how I can repay you." "Anything. I owe you my life." But the stranger, he simply shook his head and said, "You owe me nothing. Doing what is right is its own reward." My child, that stranger was your father. Yes. It was your father who stepped into the storm. Your father who faced death for someone he had never met. Your father who refused repayment. Your father who walked away quietly, expecting nothing in return. And that moment, that night, that act of bravery became the beginning of a debt that shaped the next 39 years. But here's the mystery. Your father walked away believing the story was over. But for the man whose life he saved, it was only beginning. Because he never forgot the face of the man who rescued him. He never forgot the voice that said, "You owe me nothing." He never forgot the wounds your father carried for him. And as decades passed, while he built his fortune, while he created businesses, while he gathered properties and wealth, one truth followed him like a shadow: he was alive because of your father. Yes, my child. Every achievement he gained, every success he tasted, every new day he woke up breathing, was because of that moment. But he could never find your father again. He looked everywhere. He searched through records, names, addresses, whispers. But every trail went cold. He married no one. He had no children. No relatives to leave his empire to. No one to pass down his legacy. The only name engraved in his heart, the only person who ever truly saved him, was the man who fought for him on a rainy night. Your father. But destiny has its timing. And debts written in sacrifice never disappear. Even if they hide for years, even if they sleep beneath the dust of time, they rise in the appointed hour. And now, the hour has come. Because recently, after decades of searching, he found a lead. A name connected to your father. A clue that led to your bloodline. And when he confirmed your identity, he made a decision, to give everything he owns to you, the child of the man who once saved his life. Not as charity. Not as pity. Not as a donation. But as a repayment of a life debt that was waiting nearly 40 years to be fulfilled. So understand this deeply, my child: what is being handed to you is not just wealth. It is not just assets. It is a generational blessing birthed through courage. A divine reward tied to sacrifice. A harvest planted in blood and bravery. And he has signed it all, his fortune, his property, his empire, to your name. Because to him, you are the continuation of the man who saved him. The living extension of that courage. The silent witness of a moment that shaped his destiny. And the story is not over, my child. There is more. Much more. Because what he discovered about your father, what he learned about your family, what he uncovered about your destiny, is something the world tried to hide from you. And it's time for that truth to come into the light. My child, now that the truth of that stormy night has been revealed, you must understand something even deeper. The decision this man made to leave you everything, his fortune, his empire, his legacy, didn't begin when he found your name. It started the moment he realized who you were. That realization struck him like lightning. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't hesitation. It was recognition. A recognition that traveled across decades. A recognition of the bloodline that once stood between him and death. The moment he saw your picture, the moment he heard your father's name connected to yours, his hands began to tremble. Not out of fear, but out of overwhelming emotion. It felt to him like the past suddenly reached through time and touched his shoulder. Like destiny itself whispered, "This is the one." Like the circle that refused to close for nearly 40 years finally sealed itself with your face. And my child, when he confirmed it was truly you, something broke inside of him. Something heavy. Something he carried silently for decades. A weight he never spoke of. A guilt he never confessed. A promise he never fulfilled. Because he always believed that one day, somehow, he would meet the man who saved him again. He would honor him. He would repay him. He would express the gratitude that lived inside him like a burning coal. But time had a different plan. When he learned your father was no longer alive, he felt everything collapse inside him. He felt like he had failed. Failed to honor the very person who saved his existence. Failed to express the gratitude locked in his heart. Failed to repay a debt he believed only your father deserved to receive. But then he realized something powerful. Your father may no longer walk this earth, but you do. And through you, the honor could still be given. Through you, the debt could still be settled. Through you, the story could still be completed. That's when he made the irreversible decision. That's when he rewrote his will. That's when he called his lawyers. That's when he placed your name on every asset he owned. But my child, this story goes deeper. Much deeper. Because while you heard the part about the storm, the fight, and the rescue, there is a hidden layer that even he didn't know until recently. Your father didn't just save his life that night. He saved his future. He saved his destiny. He saved everything he later became. Because the betrayal wasn't just about killing him. Those men were ordered to take his documents, his ideas, his blueprints, everything he had worked for. If he had died that night, the empire he later built never would have existed. The companies, the land, the investments, the success, the power, none of it would have come into being. Your father didn't just save a man. He saved an entire future. And when this man finally understood that truth, he felt something inside him break open again, this time not with guilt, but with revelation. He realized. If this child is the fruit of that man's bloodline, then this child deserves to receive the harvest of the future that would not exist without him. That's why he didn't give you a portion. He didn't give you a fraction. He didn't give you a symbolic token. He gave you everything. But my child, there is something you are not aware of yet. Something hidden beneath the surface. Something that took this man days to gather the courage to accept. Something he has carried like a secret flame inside his soul. Because when he started searching for your father's identity, when he dug into the past, when he tried to trace that night, something else emerged. Something your father never told anyone. Something your family never knew. Something even he didn't understand until now. Your father wasn't at that road by accident. He wasn't just taking shelter from the rain. He wasn't simply passing by. Your father was there because he was following someone else. Someone who tried to harm your family long ago. Someone who thought they were clever. Someone who believed they could escape. Someone connected to the same darkness that tried to kill the man your father saved. Yes, my child. He wasn't at that place by coincidence. He was tracking someone. He was observing someone. He was protecting someone. And when he heard that cry for help, when he saw the danger unfolding, when he realized a life was hanging by a thread, he left his own pursuit behind and chose to save another. Your father sacrificed his own mission to protect a stranger. Your father risked his own safety to fight for someone he didn't know. Your father chose honor over convenience. Duty over comfort. Sacrifice over self-preservation. And destiny recorded that moment. Decades later, when the man you now know as your benefactor dug into the past, he found something shocking: documents, old notes, names, and details your father had gathered in his silent pursuit. Records your father never spoke about. Records that revealed he wasn't an ordinary man at all. Your father was watching over people long before you were born. He was intercepting danger. He was defending the innocent. He was uncovering hidden betrayals. Not because he was asked to, but because it was in his nature. And when the benefactor understood this truth, he made another decision, one you have not yet heard. He didn't just leave you his wealth. He also left you his archives, sealed documents from your father's past, information your father never had time to complete, secrets tied to that betrayal 39 years ago. And, my child, you need to hear this next part carefully. When he searched deeper, he found out that the person who betrayed him all those years ago, the one who ordered his death, the one who wanted to steal everything he created, that same person once crossed paths with your father too. This shocked him to his core. He realized your father didn't only save his life. Your father unknowingly protected him from a man who had planned much greater destruction: financial sabotage, fraud, blame, and ruin. Your father stopped a darkness much bigger than he ever imagined. And now, my child, that darkness has resurfaced. Because when the benefactor decided to sign everything over to you, someone from his past found out. Someone who had been waiting for him to die so they could claim the inheritance. Someone who believed they deserved the wealth. Someone connected to the same line of betrayal 39 years ago. When this person discovered your name on the documents, they became furious. Furious that a stranger, you, was chosen. Furious that the legacy they wanted slipped away. Furious that the benefactor honored the bloodline of the man they hated most. And now, my child, this shadow is quietly watching you. Not to harm you, but to stop you from receiving what belongs to you. To create confusion. To cause delays. To push obstacles. To block the transfer. To hinder the blessing. But they do not know, your father's courage lives in you. Your father's covering surrounds you. Your father's legacy moves with you. And the benefactor knew this too. That's why he wrote a letter addressed only to you. A letter he instructed his lawyers to give you at the right time. A letter that reveals why God has allowed this blessing to find you now. In that letter, he wrote, "If this fortune goes to anyone else, it will destroy them. But if it goes to the child of the man who saved me, it will become a blessing, not a curse." My child, you were chosen not only because of what your father did, but because of who you are. Your heart. Your endurance. Your inner strength, even when the world tries to break you. Your resilience, even when people underestimate you. Your compassion, even when you feel empty. He saw something in you. His spirit recognized something powerful. A quiet greatness. A destiny waiting for its moment. A purpose that has been overshadowed by pain for too long. And now, your season of being overlooked has ended. Your season of being underestimated has expired. Your season of being ignored is over. Because the blessing written in your name has already begun its journey toward you. My child, now that the shadows of the past have been uncovered, you must prepare your heart for what I'm about to reveal next. Because everything you have heard until now, the stormy night, your father's courage, the benefactor's search, the hidden betrayal, the inheritance written in your name, all of it is only the beginning of the real truth. There is a deeper layer beneath everything. A secret that even the benefactor himself only discovered in the last phase of his life. A truth so unexpected, so intertwined with your destiny, that once you hear it, every confusion in your heart will quiet down. My child, listen carefully. When the benefactor finally located your name and traced your family records, he didn't stop there. There was something inside him, something like a quiet voice, a pull, that urged him to search more deeply. Something told him that there was more to your identity than just your father's bravery. So he began reading through old documents tied to your father's work. Papers your father wrote. Notes he kept hidden. Places he visited secretly. People he protected. Missions he never spoke of. And the more he read, the more he realized that your father was not living an ordinary life. Your father carried a burden he never shared. A calling he never talked about. A responsibility he kept hidden from even those closest to him. He wasn't just a man who saved a stranger one rainy night. He was someone who repeatedly stepped into danger for the sake of others. Someone who intervened in situations before they could explode. Someone who sensed trouble before anyone else could see it. But here is the part that shook the benefactor the most: your father wasn't acting alone. There were moments in your father's writings, small, subtle, carefully placed phrases, where he mentioned something unusual. He spoke of guidance he felt. Warnings he sensed. Whispers that kept him awake at night. Sudden urges to change direction, to pause, to turn back, to move forward. He described it as something that wasn't his own instinct. Something beyond human intuition. Something higher. In his own words, he wrote, "I have felt a presence directing me, not with force, but with certainty. As if someone sees what I cannot. As if someone knows what awaits behind every corner." For years, the benefactor dismissed these notes as poetic expressions or emotional reflection. But when he found your name and began connecting the dots, something inside him clicked. He realized your father was guided that night. Not randomly. Not coincidentally. But intentionally. Your father stood under that small roof because he was led there. Your father fought for that man because he was moved to act. Your father survived that night because he was covered in something greater than strength alone. Your father had something that few people carry, a spiritual mantle, a divine sensitivity, a destiny written long before he was born. And my child, that mantle didn't die with your father. That calling did not end with him. It passed down. Quietly. Silently. But surely. And it rests on you. This is why the benefactor felt overwhelmed the first time he saw your photograph. He couldn't explain it. He didn't understand it. But he sensed something, a familiarity in your eyes, a strength in your posture, a fire in your presence that reminded him of your father. He once told his lawyer, "When I look into this child's eyes, I feel the same presence I felt in the storm, the same assurance that someone is watching over them." My child, that wasn't imagination. That wasn't memory. That wasn't wishful thinking. That was spiritual recognition. Because the same covering that protected your father, the same intuition that guided him, the same courage that rose inside him, the same divine protection that surrounded him, lives inside you. And the benefactor sensed it long before he had any proof. But there's something even more astonishing. The night before he signed all his wealth to you, he had a dream. A dream so vivid it woke him up trembling. A dream he told no one about, except for the letter he left you. In that dream, he said he saw your father standing in a field. Not in pain. Not wounded. But strong, tall, peaceful, and radiant, as if the weight of the world had been lifted from him. Your father didn't speak, but he pointed toward a rising light. A light that grew brighter with every passing moment. A light that revealed a road stretching far into the distance. And on that road, the benefactor saw you, walking forward, alone at first, but covered by a glow he couldn't describe. Your father placed his hand over his heart, then extended it toward you, as if saying, "This is the one. This is the child who will continue what I could not finish." When the benefactor woke up, he was shaking. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't move. But he knew one thing: his entire legacy belonged to you. Not out of debt anymore. Not out of guilt. Not even out of gratitude. But because he realized your destiny is bigger than anything he ever imagined. Bigger than the inheritance. Bigger than the wealth. Bigger than the betrayal. Bigger than the past. And he knew this truth: if your father protected him 40 years ago, you will protect what your father once stood for. That's why he arranged everything with the utmost secrecy. That's why no one else was told. That's why all documents were sealed until his passing. That's why your name was placed discreetly, safely, quietly in his final papers. Because he understood that the same darkness that chased him long ago still exists today, in different forms, with different faces, but the same malice. And he wanted to ensure you received the blessing without interference. But my child, we must talk about the shadow watching you, the person from his past who became angry when they discovered your name. Because what you need to understand is, their anger isn't actually about the money. It's deeper. Older. More personal. The same bloodline that betrayed the benefactor 39 years ago also crossed paths with your father repeatedly. Your father stopped more than one hidden scheme. More than one silent attack. More than one secret plan designed to destroy innocent lives. He was a shield before you ever knew the meaning of the word. And this person, the descendant of that original betrayer, has been looking for a moment of advantage for years. They thought that moment would come when the benefactor died. They assumed the inheritance would be theirs by default. They felt entitled to his empire. But destiny had another plan. And when they saw your name, on the documents, their world shattered. Because your father was the one man their family feared. The one man who exposed their intentions. The one man who stood in their way. The one man whose courage disrupted their generations of manipulation. And now, his child, you, is receiving the prize they always wanted to steal. This is why they are watching you. Not because they can stop destiny, but because they are terrified of what you will become when you receive what belongs to you. They sense something about you too, something they don't want to admit. They sense the same strength your father carried. The same resilience. The same spiritual protection. The same clarity. The same determination. The same ability to see through lies and deception. They see it. They recognize it. And that is why they fear you. But do not worry, my child. You are not facing this alone. You are not walking blind. You are not stepping into unknown territory unprotected. Because the benefactor did not only leave you wealth, he left you instructions. Guidance. Documents. Keys. Clues. A roadmap to navigate exactly what lies ahead. And now, the moment has come for you to understand the final connection, the truth that ties your father, the benefactor, the betrayal, and your destiny into one story. A truth so powerful, so shocking, so deeply connected to who you truly are, that once you hear it, the meaning of everything will change. My child, now that everything has been revealed, listen closely to this last truth, because it brings every piece of the story together. The man who left you his entire fortune did not simply act out of memory, he acted out of revelation. In his final days, he finally understood that what happened 39 years ago was not an accident. It was a divine intersection. Your father was placed on that road for a reason. He was guided into that storm for a purpose. He became a shield for a man whose future was meant to cross yours. And when the benefactor realized that his survival, his success, and his entire destiny existed only because your father stood in the gap that night, he made one final decision: if his courage gave me life, then my legacy will give life to his child. That's why every asset now carries your name. That's why every document honors you. That's why every lawyer was instructed to protect you. That's why every possible obstacle was removed before the will was revealed. Because in his heart, he knew, you are the rightful heir to what your father's bravery created. And the person who has been watching you, the descendant of the original betrayer, they are powerless. They cannot change destiny. They cannot block what has already been written. They cannot touch what heaven has already sealed. Your father protected the benefactor's life, and now heaven is protecting your inheritance. So hear this final truth, my child: you were not chosen randomly. You were chosen intentionally. Your father's courage opened the door. The benefactor's gratitude placed the blessing in your hands. And destiny waited decades to bring it to you at the exact right moment. Now, the blessing is coming. The transfer is coming. The abundance is coming. The breakthrough is coming. The inheritance written in your name is coming. Not because of luck. Not because of chance. But because your father sowed a seed that only you were meant to reap. Walk forward with confidence, my child. What belongs to you is already on its way. And nothing, and no one, can stop it. The story is complete. The debt is repaid. The blessing is yours.